Hello and welcome back. Now that I shared my story of the huge psycho-spiritual transformation, I'm going to share the next 19 years of not just psycho-spiritual emotional transformation, but also the physical transformation. There are a lot of different healing modalities I've studied just out of selfish reasons to fix myself. As you saw in my last post, where I also posted a simple image of fascia and how a restriction or an injury in one area has an effect on the entire body and the entire fascial system. Most of you have probably heard about myofascial release, which a lot of people don't know, like the aperture, craniosacral therapy, or just osteopathy in general. I do a lot of myofascial release. I do a lot of lymphatic work. It doesn't feel like the intense lymphatic drainage or like the deep tissue work, but to get deep into the fascia, we have to hang out with the tissues and release whatever is remembered. So just fast forward 2007 to 2009. Like I said, I started swimming, started with 1 lap at a time, and then worked my way up to 50 laps. I think, now that I think about it, the big transformation and getting rid of the lift, and obviously I was in a lot of pain afterwards because my entire fascia, my whole body, my organs, everything down to the cell had grown around this restriction in my body, the acidity of my body from eating foods that were, I thought they were healthy or normal, what people think, oh yeah, we just eat it because they're selling it. So the acidity, the Epstein-Barr virus, toxins in the body from medicines. So after the big healing event in July, I think by October was the first time when I ran after my little dog, and I'm like, oh, I'm not in like horrible, horrible pain. So it took me like 3 months, 4 months. I was still in a lot of pain, but pain is, what you're used to. So if you're used to an 8 or a 9 pain level, and all of a sudden it's down to 7 or 6, it's like, wow, this feels amazing. So that's how the journey began. So the years 2007, 2008, 2009, I started reading a lot of psychospiritual books, new age books. I needed to understand what had happened to me. I didn't understand. I didn't even understand how the lady did the work she did. I mean, she touched me and then she knew the injuries I had. It's kind of like, well, when people come in these days to see me or touch you, I don't know the story, but I can feel exactly where the injury is and what your body wants to work with. So here I am 20 years later, and yeah, I'm going to talk about a lot of things I've studied, tried out. You will see something might resonate with you. Just like for me, some of the things I studied, I would say I'm not practicing it, but on a certain level, just because it is in my field, because I've looked at it, I've read a book on it, so I'm probably still tapping into it. So 2007, 8, 9, I saw the healer from Kyrgyzstan, I think 4 more times. And yeah, one of the interesting events was also I started dating. I found someone online. He was in the US, I was still in Germany. So we would visit, and when we were in Arizona, we went to Sedona. So we went to Sedona, we did all the vortexes, felt amazing, came back to Germany. I met with Sophia, the healer, and she said that was actually the last time I saw her, she said to the translator, what is the place that Tanya went to? She still has that energy in her. And I'm like, oh, I went to Sedona. So just visiting Sedona, sitting at the vortexes, coming back home to Germany. The lady from Kyrgyzstan visiting Germany, she could still feel Sedona in my field and in my body. And then she said, well, Tanya's going to move to the US pretty soon. I'm like, yeah, I don't think so. Anyway, I quit my job. I just couldn't do it anymore. I'm like, this is not my journey. I was lucky, like I mentioned before, that I had my private insurance that covered, 75% of my income. So it's not like I was suffering. Wasn't great, but it was good. So it was the motivator to keep going. So then I went to the US, visited my boyfriend again. The plan was for me to stay 3 months on my tourist visa, go back to Germany, come back, trying to figure out, talking about my story, but I think back then, that was 2009, 2010, it wouldn't have made any sense to talk about the story because the story had just began. Even today, 2026, I have so much to talk about, but I still believe there's so many years and there's so much more I can learn. So what I'm talking about today, May 2026, might not even be what I believe in a year from now or 2 years from now. So that's why sometimes when people come up with, oh, you said that 5 years ago, I'm like, I can't remember what I did yesterday. I'm really, most of the time, living in the now, do short-term planning, and yeah, just be me, and it feels so good. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the things I've studied. Thank you.